all it takes for evil to prevail is for good men and women to be silent, to do nothing. We are less connected than ever before. And we as men and women of the world need to stand up and say, I want to be connected. I want to get out of my isolation and become this force for good. Don't let the circumstances around you dictate to you who you should be. Force for good just simply means your ability to impact the lives of others, your ability to impact society, communities, the world. And every single one of us has that. Hey, it's Craig Wilkinson here with what used to be dangerous but good. But from today, we're changing it to force for good. So many discussions, so many chats from various different sources and people. And the thought was dangerous for good is a lovely concept, but the word dangerous can have some implications, which are sometimes less than positive. So we've decided to change our podcast to Force for Good. And it's beautiful. I love it. Force for Good. And here's the thing. Every single one of us can be and should be and is made to be a force for good. And what does that actually mean? If you think about it at the end of your life, let's say you live to a ripe old age of 100 and it's your funeral and people are coming to pay their respects. What are they going to say about you and me? Well, what do they say? You know, we can either live a life that makes no difference whatsoever. It's kind of meaningless. Or we can live a life that is actually destructive. It harms people. You know, we were talking with one of our producers, Duncan, here about alcoholism and the massive impact that has on lives, you know, the destructive impact, lives that are completely selfish, self-absorbed, addictions, etc. The point is you can live a life that's destructive to others. You can live a life that's pretty much bland and doesn't really have an impact whatsoever. Or you can live a life that has a massive impact for good. And here's the beauty. Every single one of us has the power to be a force for good. Think about it. Force for good just simply means your ability to impact the lives of others, your ability to impact society, communities, the world. And every single one of us has that. We all do. We all have the power to make a difference in lives. There's a beautiful story. I'll give you a story about one of my favorite speakers, preachers. He's passed away recently, a guy called Tony Campolo. And he tells the story. He's a sociologist and a preacher and a university lecturer and professor. And he went on a trip to somewhere in the south of America. This was many, many years ago, decades ago. And he arrived at his hotel destination and he walked into the reception area and he was confronted by this young woman who was a prostitute. And he looked at this girl and she looked to be about around 16 years old, underage girl, but she was prostituting herself. And this is his reaction. He said to her, how much do you charge for an hour? She gave him a figure. He said to her, how much would you charge for a whole evening? She gave him a figure. And then he said to her, do you have any friends, that would also like to join us? And she said, yes, I do. I've got 2 friends who could join us. And he went immediately. He said to her, look, here's my room number. Meet me in my room at 7 p.m. tonight. Then he went to the hotel manager, the receptionist, and he said, please, would you send up, this was prior to internet days, he said, please, would you send up all the Disney movies you've got? And please, at 7 o'clock, would you send up milkshakes, hamburgers, and chips? And he said he couldn't give that young woman back her youth, which she'd obviously lost, or her childhood. But he said he could give her one night where he just gave her what her childhood should have been. Drinking milkshakes, eating hamburgers, watching movies, just having a fun time, the kind of thing that young women should be doing. And there's a beautiful example of a man who said, you know what, I have an opportunity to abuse this young lady or to take advantage of her. I'm away from my home country, no one would know, there was no snapshots in those days. Or I could just walk away and do nothing. Or I could actually say, you know what, I have the ability to seriously impact this young woman's life, and I'm going to do that. I've got the time, I've got the money, I've got the hotel room. He had such a massive impact on that young girl and her 2 friends for good. He was a force for good. And you and I need to decide, am I going to be a force for good? Am I just going to lead a life that really doesn't have an impact on anyone? Or am I going to be someone who's destructive? And if every one of us is honest and we sit on the side of our bed one day or sit in a chair and say, is there anything I'm doing that's not ideal, that's destructive to myself or destructive to others? Is it a habit? Is it a way of being? Is it something that triggers me? Am I an angry person? When my kids look at me, what do they see? An angry father, or do they see a loving, caring? When my spouse looks at me, when my colleagues, my friends, the impact that I'm having on the community, is there anything that I'm doing? Are there any habits that I have, any ways of being, in the way I pitch up with colleagues, friends, anybody, that is less than healthy, that's destructive, that leaves people feeling down? We all have that, how we respond, how we interact, how we smile. And ask ourselves, can I get rid of that habit? Am I doing something that's destructive to myself, my health, and destructive to those around me? All of us need to say and make a decision and make a call and say, I actually want to have a net, powerfully good impact on this world. Is my wife better because I'm in her life? Are my colleagues better? Is South Africa better? Is the community I live in better because I'm in it? That's a force for good. That's a powerful force for good. And we all need to make that decision. You see, number one, we have the ability to impact. Our words are powerful. Our demeanor is powerful. Our presence or absence makes a difference. The way we pitch up, the way we do things, the way we conduct our lives, what we choose to do with our time and our money. And so you can tell what a man values clearly by looking at what does he do with his time and what does he do with his money. Am I using my time, my effort, my words, my money, all my resources for good, for me, or for bad? These are the choices we need to make. And at the end of my life, what kind of legacy do I want to leave? So I just really want to say, let's be a force for good, man. You have the power. There are so many battles that we need to fight. There's so many things that need to be fought against. Think of anger, think of fear, think of loneliness, think of poverty, think of abuse, think of racism, sexism, all these different things. These are things in the world that need to be fought against. We all know that saying, and I say it so often, all it takes for evil to prevail is for good men and women to be silent, to do nothing. If we are silent, we're complicit. If we're not using our time, money, efforts, words, resources, demeanor, psychology, everything for good, what are we using it for? Is it for bad? And remember, 3 ways we can use our strength. We can be passive and not do anything with it. We can be aggressive and be destructive with it, or we can use it for good. And I tell you what, if this world was filled with people who said, I want to be a force for good, we'd live in paradise. We wouldn't need a police force. We wouldn't need social services, because every one of us would be saying, I'm going to be a force for good. I'm going to help that brother that's in need. I'm going to help that orphan. I'm going to mentor that orphan that needs. I'm going to stand up against corruption. I'm going to refuse to take bribes, whatever it is that I'm going to do, but I'm going to stand up against it. I'm going to be an excellent father, excellent mother, excellent husband, excellent wife, excellent son, daughter. This is the commitment we need to make. We live in a world which increasingly has become very isolating. We spend so much time in our cell phones and our devices pursuing our own interests. We are less connected than ever before. And we as men and women of the world need to stand up and say, I want to be connected. I want to get out of my isolation and become this force for good. It doesn't mean you need to be strong or rich or powerful or beautiful or influential. You have the power. You have the ability. Me as a father, I can make a massive difference in my children's lives. If I pitch up and be present when they need me, that already is being a force for good. If I'm absent, I'm being a destructive force. At night, if I get home and I have that glass of wine or that beer or that Johnny Walker, whatever it is, if I spend too much time and do too much of that, I get down that rabbit hole. If I spend too much time consumed with watching reels and entertainment in my own world, what good am I to the world? What good am I to the world? I'm isolated, I'm disconnected, and I'm seriously not just getting involved in becoming a force for good. Becoming a force for good means becoming the very best version of yourself you can be. It means making a commitment to being the most effective, influential, competent individual you can possibly be. And what does that mean? It means, number one, starting with myself. It means just looking in the mirror and saying, how am I pitching up to the world? Are there any triggers that I have, any issues that I have, any habits that I have that are destructive? It's looking in the mirror and saying, let me work on myself. Let me get whole. None of us arrive at adulthood completely whole. None of us are perfectly parented. None of us live in a society which affirms and blesses and is conducive to our full mental and physical health. We all go through issues. We all go through rejections and sometimes abuses and all kinds of things, words that hurt, etc. And we arrive at adulthood with some triggers, with some wounds. And number one starting point to be a force for good is say, let me get whole, man. Let me look in the mirror. Let me just deal with whatever things inside of me need to be dealt with. And I know that us as men struggle a lot more to do that. We think counseling is something that for weaklings, we think being vulnerable. No. It takes courage to look in the mirror, to deal with your dark side, to deal with the issues and things in your life that are not ideal, that keep you from being the best version of yourself you can possibly be. So let's get whole. Number two, let's keep growing, man. There's so many areas in which we can grow. Grow academically, grow physically, your fitness levels, your mental health levels, your ability to your emotional intelligence, which is really your ability to self-modulate, to control your own emotions and actions. And your EQ with regards to people. How good am I in dealing with people and managing relationships? We can grow ourselves all the time in all the areas. Self-mastery. A leader is one thing, but being a leader of yourself is so much more important. Have we conquered our own desires and passions? And are we able to self-control? Are we able to live lives of moderation and self-control and passion, but within the bounds of what's moral and what's good and right? These are the things we need to do. Work on ourselves, grow ourselves. The issue of communication is such a crucial one. I think it's Simon Sinek, he said, good communicators lead and good leaders communicate. You cannot really get through life and be a powerful force for good without learning how to communicate well, learning how to communicate assertively. In other words, knowing what you want, being able to communicate your desires and needs, being empathetic and knowing what others want, listening to them, and just communicating in a way that's beneficial to all, in a way that's not demeaning, in a way that's not passive. In other words, you're not saying what you need to say. In other words, that's respectful of self and respectful of others. These are so many things that we can do to grow our ability to impact others. But really it comes down to purpose. What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of man, what kind of woman do you want to be? Do you want to be someone who's purpose-driven, someone who makes a difference, someone who impacts others? One comedian said, you get two kinds of men in the world. You get those who bring joy wherever they go, and then you get those who bring joy whenever they leave. And we want to be the kind of guy that brings joy wherever you go. You want to light up the room. You want to make people feel good about themselves. And you can, and I can, and we can. It just takes a decision. You know what? Let me stop living selfishly. Let me stop living purely for myself. Let me deal with any destructive habits or ways that I have. And let me decide to be a force for good. In this podcast going forward, we're going to interview so many people who are incredible forces for good in the world. Last week, I talked to a woman who'd converted her own house into a shelter for abused women. Phenomenal woman. Unfunded, no one giving her anything for it. She just decided, I had been through some abuse and I wanted to make a difference in others' lives. We have so many saints like that throughout our nation, men and women living in communities around this country who have just decided, you know what, I can and I will be a powerful force for good. And that's what this is all about. And that's what life's all about. At the end of the day, you don't look back with regret and say, wow, I could have done so much more. Wow, I was so selfish. You're not going to say, well, you're not going to get to the end of life and say, I wish I'd driven a better car. I wish I'd eaten, more caviar. You're going to get to life and say, wow, what legacy have I left? What do my children say about me? My wife, my friends, my colleagues. What does my community say about me? Have I left an impact? Have I left this world in a far better condition than I found it? And I tell you what, and this is my passionate encouragement to you, make a commitment to making the world a better place. And start right where you are. Start with the immediate people in your vicinity, your wife, your mother, your father, your siblings, your offspring. Just start in your own environment. Start with yourself. Remember, the most important relationship you have on earth is the relationship you have with yourself. And if that relationship is good, chances are it's going to reflect outwards. If that relationship's bad, chances are that's also going to reflect outwards. It's going to lead to addictions and anger and lashing out and all kinds of things. So get that relationship with yourself right. Fall in love with yourself, not in an arrogant way where you stand in front of a mirror and do your hair the whole day, and stand pump iron to get the bigger, but no, not that kind of way. Fall in love with yourself in a sense that you enjoy who you are, you know who you are, you're kind to yourself, you have a good inner dialogue with yourself, and that's a starting point to becoming a powerful force for good. So my encouragement, make that call, man. Make that call. Decide, I'm going to be a force for good. Grow yourself, know yourself, fall in love with yourself, and use your strengths, your sense of humor, your words, everything you are, your presence, to truly become a beautiful fragrance in this world, to truly impact the lives of others in the most powerfully positive way. So that's it. We're now no longer dangerous for good. We are force for good. But remember, dangerous is not necessarily a bad word. There is danger in the world, and we need to be dangerous to the danger. A snake crawls into your house at night. You need to be dangerous to that snake, man. You need to be able to fight that snake. So we need to be courageous and able to stand up against what's bad. But we're rather calling it a force, a power, a force of nature. You are a force of nature. You can be a greater force of nature. And are you going to be passive? Are you going to be destructive? Or are you going to be a net force for good in this world? And that's really what we're all about on this podcast, becoming that powerful force for good. Duncan, who's busy. No, we'll go for it. No, we'll put it in. Hey, Duncan, who's doing the recording, has just made a very good comment. He says, how can we be not just a force for good, but an unstoppable force for good? And I think what he's really saying there is, don't give up, persevere, don't stop. Often there's that crazy saying that says, what does it say? No good deed goes unpunished. Often you try and do good and it blows up in your face. But I think what Duncan's saying is, let's keep doing it, man. Don't stop. Don't let the circumstances around you dictate to you who you should be. Decide, I'm going to be above that. I'm going to be above my circumstances. I'm not going to let people bring me down to their level by doing what they do. If they call me names, I'm going to call them. No. Be an unstoppable force for good. Just keep going. And I tell you what's a beautiful thing. This gains momentum. You start being a force for good now. You hit some obstacles and some discouragement. You say, you know what, I'm not going to let that change who I am. In other words, I'm not going to let someone who bullied me or abused me affect the person who I am. I'm going to be the person who God made me to be. And you keep doing that. The momentum grows. And over the years, you're going to develop a beautiful reputation. You're going to become known as someone who is just an amazingly beautiful human being who makes this world a better place. And that momentum's going to develop and develop and develop. And at the end of the life, you're going to look back and say, wow, man, what a beautiful journey. It was tough at times, but wow. And I tell you what, those people whose lives you've impacted, there's a fantastic story. A documentary was done on a man who helped many Jewish people escape from Nazi rule. And this man lived into his 90s, and he was called into a room to be honored for this. And what he didn't know was that all the people he'd helped who were survivors and all their offspring and grandchildren and children were in the audience. And this huge audience of people that many of them would not have been alive, would not have been born had this man not done what he'd done. And they were all there, and on camera he was honored, and the tears flowed as he realized, wow, the impact I had was so much greater than I even knew. You help one person, you change that life. That person changed others' lives, and the exponential impact is absolutely enormous. So let's do that, man. Let's become those people that at the end of your life you could be sitting in a room, and many more people than you even know that you've touched, but you have touched, can arrive in the room and say, wow, thank you. My life is today what it is because of your act of kindness, because of what you did somewhere down the line during the course of your life. It's a beautiful way to live. It's a wonderful way to live. You can never outgive God. The more you sow, the more you're going to reap, and it's a beautiful thing to do. So get out there and be an unstoppable force for good. You are destined for that, made for that, and damn, the world's going to thank you for being that.